I'm Mike Brock, and I like to do impressions. I feel like everyone in the world has a talent, something they're real good at, and with me, I think I have a lot of skills. I mean, I can shoot a basketball, and I can strum a little guitar, and I can tie my shoes, but all of those things take some time to learn. There's only ever been one thing that just came naturally to me, and that's mimicking voices. I don't know, I've always done it, and I find it fun to do. There were really two comedians that I loved to watch as a kid, and those would be Will Ferrell and Eddie Murphy.
Seriously, this thing is going to be a financial and cultural disaster. Sports Center. Think about that. That's just dumb.
The thing I like about them, surprise, surprise, they both started on the comedy block. They both starred on Saturday Night Live, which essentially is a show of impressions. And they're so good at replicating these famous icons. I wouldn't say that I wanted to be them, but I appreciated how they were able to make people laugh. Their jokes didn't necessarily have to have a punchline. It just was funny because it's funny.
It still sucks, man.
There's quite a few techniques to really nailing an impression, but there's three main ones that you have to master to get the voice down. You have to be able to control your nasal cavity. And the example I use when trying to explain this technique to someone is actually Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. So for anyone who watches The Simpsons, you know that Mr. Burns sounds a lot like this, real snooty. He has this British accent, and he's very stuck up, and he's old, and he hunches over. Very, very nasal character. And how I compare this is try clamping your nose, and you'll sound a lot like this, and it's very monotone. Mr. Burns is actually quite monotone. I fluctuate my voice, but the rhythm stays the same. So that's that's essentially how that one works. Well, the second technique you gotta master is probably the easiest one to learn, and it's also the most obvious, which is mastering your vocal range. A lot like a singer, you've got to be able to hit those really high notes and the really low notes. A character that I really like to use when talking about that higher end of the spectrum would be Jar Jar Binks. And people roll their eyes when they hear the name because he's just so annoying. But the thing that stands out, at least to me, is his high-pitched voice. It sounds a lot like this. Lisa Jar Jar Binks. Very, very high end of the spectrum when it comes to tone. Low, my favorite example would be Gollum from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And he's actually very similar to Jar Jar, except he has a very low pitch voice. Very low. It's very raspy. You add a little rasp to it. And he loves to split. He loves to split. And that's what sells it. And that's what differentiates the two. So that's an example of controlling your pitch, controlling your tone. The third technique is all about projection, and this is easily the most difficult skill to master. Basically what you're doing is keeping your voice towards the back of your throat. The best way to explain it through words would be take a look at a ventriloquist and what they do. They speak through their teeth, not their jaw. they speak through a slit in their mouth, minuscule, but they still are able to enunciate. It's because they're keeping their voice towards the back of their throat instead of speaking out. What else is on there?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Getting an impression down is all about practice. Really, I think anyone can do it. You don't have to be a joke teller to amuse people or to get a laugh from someone. And I love that aspect of it.